So, welcome to our IEP meeting. Today, we're going to be talking about Robert and his IEP and how we can better help his performance in the classroom across different subjects. I am Caleb Wickman, and I am his math teacher.
My name's Aiden Herbster, and I am Robert's special education teacher.
And I'm Cecilia Rosema, and I'm his social studies teacher.
I am Elijah Cook, and I'm Robert's reading and English teacher.
Okay, so with our agenda for today is we want to do an overview of Robert's IEP. So, what stood out in Robert's IEP that we think needs to be taken into account as we discuss better ways to help him in the classroom?
One of my major things that stuck out to me was Robert has gotten a lot better at answering why questions, which is really great because that requires a lot of critical thinking skill. He's raised his accuracy from 15 all the way to 65, which is a really good foundation for us. However, and I think a lot of y'all will also have this concern, I'm worried about his short-term knowledge retention skills because he doesn't seem to be doing super well with vocabulary or quick quizzes we have. And I was wondering what you all think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was looking through his IEP, that was definitely something that I noted as one of his big struggles currently. He really struggles retaining information in short-term memory. He struggles with knowledge acquisition and also recollection. So we definitely need to be doing some sort of pre-teaching, chunking information, lots of visual representations and repetitions to try and help promote that memory retention.
Yeah, I completely agree. Robert also in reading is struggling to remember long-term vocabulary, and it's gonna definitely impact him in the future, especially for reading and writing. It's gonna be extremely limited if he's struggling that badly.
Yeah, to build off what you were saying, Elijah, I've noticed that the vocabulary in mathematics has become more of a weak link for him than has to help him advance his understanding of mathematics. And due to that lack of knowledge in the vocabulary, he struggles in being able to understand what the question is asking and what function is best to go about using it. And I think if we can focus on that, it'll definitely help him out in the long run.
Awesome.
All right, so we
Yeah,
can
and
go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, I think that has to do with the application skills. Because he's reading the problem, but he doesn't know how to apply what he's learned to the actual problem.
Yeah, definitely having that opportunity to review and further assess whether he understands the information would go a long way for him. Definitely. Is there anything else that we'd like to bring up?
It's noted a couple times in his IEP that he does a really good job with skill development when he's provided repetition and ample time to answer, especially orally. So I think it's important to really try and incorporate. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I just completely lost my train of thought.
Incorporate retrieval.
Yeah. So just giving him a lot of chances to repeat himself and relearn information that he's previously learned.
Yep.
And I even think having opportunities for him to collect his thoughts better from what he has in his mind and being able to transfer it to paper, because that's one of the standards that we usually try and meet in the math classroom, is to try and communicate your ideas effectively to your classmates. And even if it's something as small as a little writing prompt for a paragraph of anything about the content each day would definitely help retrieve that information better and being able to communicate it efficiently.
Yeah. Being able to like synthesize and like remember information like clearly and understand it and then be able to repeat it back is a really important skill. You guys ready to move into objectives?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Aiden, do you want to go ahead and start with your special education objective?
Yeah, I'll start. So my biggest concern after looking through his IEP was his information processing and his retaining information. So when I was writing his objective, I thought of that and I wrote, when asked a set of 5 reflection questions based off of recently taught curriculum, Robert will orally answer 3 out of 5 questions correctly for 4 consecutive weeks out of a 10-week period, 1 school quarter, as measured by weekly reflections.
I really love that. I love that you have a quarter in there. It's a really easy to observe amount of time. And I think it's enough time for him to be able to build this skill too.
Absolutely. And it gives us a chance that to take a look back after the quarter is over and to take a look at whether or not he's made any progress, and if not, adjust our path.
And even the target of focusing on recently taught curriculum, having that opportunity to allow him to communicate what he understands about it will definitely help him stay a little bit more on target, so that way we see those better results in those quarterly assessments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see quarterly like assessment. Like if we could get Robert to understand like learning a specific task within like a amount of time in the school system for all classes, I think he would benefit really well from that.
Mm-hmm. And the act of just having him reflect over the material that he's learned in the past week is really good for helping reinforce that information recalling and retaining.
Definitely awesome. Cecilia, would you like to talk about your objective for social studies?
Yeah, of course. So one of my big concerns is Robert's ability to apply things he's learned, because he can only do it accurately about 35% of the time if he's writing, and much higher if he is speaking. So my objective is, given the weekly reading application task in the social studies classroom, Robert will answer 6 questions orally with an accuracy of 50% for the end of a 9-week period, measured by biweekly reading comprehension checks. And honestly, I think I'm probably going to do a quarter instead, because I think that's a better measurable amount of time, and it's a full quarter. So he knows exactly how long he has to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Also in my class, we're dealing with a lot of primary sources and a lot of complex sentences, which he struggles with when he has to write larger sentences or ones that are more structured. And so what I want to do for him is chunk his information and color code it so that he can remember it better and recall it, because he can recall the colors when he's doing the actual application tasks.
I think that is a great idea. Robert does really well with visual representations. So I feel like attaching colors to that would definitely help with that recalling information. Another thing that I think would be really beneficial is with social studies, you have a lot of terms and vocabulary that you have to learn during class. And so if you could pre-teach those terms and those vocabulary words to him before actually starting the lesson, not only would that help reinforce memory recall, but it would also ease up a little bit on how much information he's taking in at once.
That's a great idea, because like it said in the IEP, he struggles when there's a lot of information at once, and I think he gets nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So I love your idea about pre-teaching it to him so he doesn't feel like it's just all at once.
Yeah. And it also helps with his attention span during class. His IEP notes that is a problem often in class, is that he struggles to pay attention. So I feel like if he was less overstimulated with all of this information coming at him at once, he would be able to pay attention much better.
So true.
Yeah, and I mean, chunking is a good skill to have across different multiple subjects too. So even just
Mhm.
getting him acclimated to the routine of that will help him better understand more difficult reading tasks and hopefully bump up even his reading level too. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
So true.
okay. All right, I'm going to go into my mathematics goals. So as I previously talked earlier, it's a lot of understanding the math problems. So Robert will be able to answer questions accurately 60% of the time while focusing on increasing his understanding on how to interpret the questions. And I want to be able to assess this, maybe not on a biweekly basis, but being able, like, stretching it out maybe a little bit more. Because what can be difficult about math is if your misconceptions aren't met soon, the quicker, it'll make things difficult in the future to understand what's going on. So I definitely would probably want to stretch it out maybe a little bit more, maybe to like every 3 weeks. But that way, if there's any misconceptions, and we can catch them before they cement, and that way we can figure out better ways to reteach the material if there needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could even go as far as if you want to make sure that if you're trying to catch those misconceptions before they get, too big or, buried too deep or whatever, doing just like quick end of lesson checks with him just to make sure that he, understood what your main point of your lesson was. That could be beneficial as well, just to make sure that he is on the right track on a smaller basis, on like a daily or weekly basis.
Yeah. Math, I always felt like is something that needs like constant check-ins because it's like you might remember it that first week, but then the second week comes up and then something changes just a little bit about the problem and then it can kind of become confusing again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Math is really all about building on previously learned knowledge. And if you have some misconceptions in there, it's really easy to just, all your skills start to fall, they start to slip away.
Yeah, math is like one big game of Jenga.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what I was trying to focus on with Robert, and I think giving him that opportunity to be able to reflect back on that, I think is really going to help him be able to connect different ideas and being able to see how the different concepts work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Elijah, do you want to talk about your objective?
Yeah, I can. Just from hearing your guys, I definitely would want to add and change some things. But it says, given with Robert's analysis and information, Robert will be able to increase multi-syllable word accuracy to 80% from 60% currently. Robert will increase word accuracy and speed from 50 words and 36 accuracy to 75 words and 50 word accuracy. Robert will use comprehension strategies in literature using informational text. I would probably chunk this out over those 4 consecutive weeks, just like Aiden has. I think that's a good time frame for this. I think that I know that in, Cecilia's, like in social studies, there's a lot of long pieces of text, lots of reading, and I think that having time to increase word speed and accuracy, especially in more long, complex words, it can feel very grueling if you don't have a lot of practice. So I want to make sure that Robert gets a lot of practice in just different forms of text. I want to make sure that's from different sources and genres, and that he'll be able to keep up with everybody else.
I love that you're going to use multiple different kinds of text because that's going to help me as a social studies teacher because you're going to be exposing him to text that we might look at. So I think that's really awesome. And you can incorporate his interests because he really likes the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something you can maybe bring in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Involving his interests would probably be a really great way to try and increase his reading reading comprehension and word accuracy. Another good thing with exposing him to multiple texts is that he may find more interests and more things that he likes to know and learn about, and that could be really beneficial to him as well.
Yeah, you could not be more correct. You're absolutely right.
And even like connecting different texts, like even if there was like some overlap with some social studies and then the reading concepts, and that would probably provide a lot of aha moments for him and being able to connect different classes that he's in. Because I know a lot of times whenever I was in school, I didn't really notice how one class could build off of another besides mainly reading. But yeah, definitely having that team up on that would definitely benefit Robert in the long run.
True.
So let's go ahead and let's work on the chart and what we think would be an overall goal that would benefit Robert as a student and helping him learn across different classrooms.
All right. So the first section in this chart is teacher instruction, so methodology and delivery. Anyone have any ideas?
One, I think we all really touched on this without even saying it, is that we should walk around the room and always check in with Robert to ensure that he's working out and he's making progress.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's
another.
go ahead,
you
go ahead, Aiden.
Okay. I was going to say another instruction method that would be really beneficial to Robert would to be teach Robert self-assessment skills so that we can put him in the position of like checking himself, making sure that he's on progress with his goals.
Yeah, like self-regulation and self-monitoring.
Mhm.
I think that's a great idea.
In that way, the responsibility is on him to try and understand what's going on, because so many times students aren't given the skills in whenever they're talking with their teacher about what they don't understand. So even if he's not completely getting it, at least Robert will have the opportunity to self-assess himself and figure out specifically what he is getting confused on. So I think that that's great. And with the consistent check-in, I think it's a good way to assess without waiting for like some big test or like quiz at the end of the week. Because I know in my class we do a lot of different mathematic games, and I go through and assess with Robert on like his understanding, and it's a nice casual way to discuss mathematics and his understanding of how to connect the content and strategies that he may use.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think check-ins like that work just to it's a lot it's easier on Robert, but I feel like it's also less embarrassing than like the teacher just like approaching him and being like, "Hey, you're not doing good at this." It's like Robert can have the initiative to be like, "I want to get better at this. This is something I want to do good at." And it's a lot more private.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another instruction method that Cecilia kind of touched on earlier would be information chunking. And go with that, pre-teaching. Let's see here.
And then another one we also talked about was connecting what we're learning about to stuff he already learned about or stuff he enjoys. I think that is really going to help him retain it.
Yeah, I agree.
To Robert's interest and even like real world connections, because I saw that he was interested in the career field of auto mechanics, and I think being able to see how those connections can fit into an interesting career path like that will increase his engagement with the content and being able to want to know more about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I noted as I was looking through his IEP is that he does best learning skills in the settings that they would most naturally be used. So if he were to be taking a course on mechanics, he would probably best learn those skills in a mechanic shop. So I think that teaching those skills in their natural environment would be a really great way for him to learn as well.
I think another thing to add, a lot of students work well with a physical connection with remembering the material, so even providing like some motions for specific content words or keywords that would help him understand some of the content better, I think would benefit him. So that way it's not, he's applying the information to muscle memory instead of just mental memory.
Yeah, I like that idea. Another thing that I thought might be helpful for Robert is the IEP noted that he loves working with his classmates and his peers, but he struggles with appropriate behaviors and interrupting and getting sort of in people's personal space, as well as he struggles paying attention in class. So I feel like maybe pairing him with some sort of buddy or model student who could remind him when he needs to correct his behavior or model those key behaviors would be beneficial for him socially.
Yes. I think that's a great idea because I feel like with some of the things we've talked about, that I find that Robert seems to have some type of I wouldn't call it short-term memory loss, but it seems like things that are in the moment he forgets. If it's over time, he'll get it. But if it's just if he has someone there, I feel like that's he can connect it. It's oh, me and my buddy did this together. We went over the vocabulary words together. We did this thing to remember it. And I think that is really good. That's a really, really good one.
All right, awesome. Are you guys comfortable, or do you want to move on to the assess section now?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. So assess. One of the biggest things that I think that we should consider is allowing for oral responses, because he does much better with memory, comprehension and recalling when he's speaking rather than when he's writing.
I think also having a vocabulary outline of some sort can really help him, especially with math exams. Words that are a quarter fifth and stuff like that he struggles with. So that can help him actually do the math and not get hung up on the words.
Yeah, I actually like that idea.
Yeah, I was going through some ideas, and that was one of the ideas I thought that would work out pretty well, is having a little sheet of reference words, so that way he can get used to looking at them consistently, and that would help with retaining the knowledge better and being able to make those connections instead of just getting hung up on the computational side of it.
Mm-hmm. Another accommodation that I think would be great for Robert would be allowing unlimited time for responses to tests or other informal assessments.
And kind of go along with that one, I think he would definitely benefit from breaks during instruction. Because like we talked about, he gets overwhelmed when there's a lot of information. So it can help him. I think it would honestly help his short-term memory as well. Because then he's oh, I took a break. I can kind of like link that to the information.
Yeah, I agree.
And that way, it even kind of just gives them a minute just to be able to think about what they just learned and be able to get ready to tackle the next chunked out section that we have planned for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you incorporated like physical movements into his teaching, like if he has time to get up and go get a drink of water, he can kind of like practice those physical movements, like have another opportunity, because like sometimes you might only remember it, like maybe you practiced it standing up and then but during the test you're sitting down the whole time, so it never connects and you're like, what, why do I not remember this? But yeah, the breaks are really great.
Maybe that's something that we could add on here as well is, allow him to take tests standing or take assessments standing.
Another form of assessment I think should be any form of like written reflection responses. So that way it's something not so stressful, but he has the opportunity to process the information and communicate it clearly for someone else to read. And that could be incorporated through us or even his peer buddy that we have him with.
Yeah, so you said, I'm sorry, could you say that again? Written responses?
Yeah, just like any like reflective written responses that either he tries to communicate something to us as the teacher or to a peer.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Does anyone have anything else they would like to add to this category, or are we ready to move to reteach?
I don't have anything else. I think we're ready to go to reteach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we think of something, we can always go back.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, what's happening? Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so reteach. Definitely referencing content that he's already learned.
And content he enjoys too.
And I think even reviewing like key vocab words, because I know that this is a major area where he struggles in with his short-term memory, but just even reviewing keywords, and this can go across all subjects. I know even with social studies, it's just as important with vocab words, understanding different concepts of throughout history and having an understanding of those vocab words helps. So even just reviewing that is beneficial.
Yeah. Also, in his IEP, they stated that he struggles with generalizing and maintaining skills. So I feel like something that would be helpful for him in that aspect would be to reteach the skills or apply the skills that he's already learned in different settings because he struggles with that a little bit. So anything from like social skills to math skills.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
One more strategy that I like is keeping consistent color codes. Like, one of the things he benefits from is when you color code like the subject in one color and like the verb in another. So I'm thinking if we could work together and have all of us have a consistent system. So like he always sees red, that means subject. He always sees green, that means verb kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And that can easily be built on with mathematics that with the verb color can easily be put into the word problems and what that specific verb means as far as the function goes for the math. So yeah, definitely. That'd be good to build off of.
Yeah. If you could even take it one step further, and it talked about like visuals and stuff, if you could find colored like visuals, essentially, like, yellow B, or, any type of harder word that needs to be color coded, like add a picture with it, or give them a chance to like describe it, and how if it's a difficult thing, give them time to like write it out, or just speak to someone and they could take notes.
Or even just having like accessible resources that he can look at later if he needs that extra reinforcement.
Yeah. Resources. Anything else to add to reteach, or would you guys like to move on to what the student needs access to?
I think we can move on to what the student needs access to. I think that we have a really good foundation for Robert to help him succeed in his future classes.
I agree. I definitely agree. Okay. So, student needs access to strategies, aids, and services. One thing that I would like to put on here would be more training with his technological aids. So that what did he have? He had like a word reader.
He had a word reader, I believe, and then also a software that helped him write too. Because he's not quite proficient with them yet, and so he's taking quite a bit of time to do any sort of written responses. And I think he's getting caught up in that and thinking about that rather than thinking about the content.
Okay. Another thing that I think would be beneficial to Robert would be having access to fidget toys or even a pair of headphones if he's overstimulated in class.
One thing that I've seen online is with students who have a tough time with paying attention in class and just needs to be active a little bit, is even having like a little pull noodle to where they can rest their feet on and then just push that back and forth underneath the table. So that way it's not too distracting, because I know sometimes whenever they have something to fidget with, it may be distracting for other students. So definitely something small enough that wouldn't be a major that wouldn't cause other students to lose track of what's going on in the lesson.
Yeah. I thought this is going to sound like more work, but I feel like it could be helpful is just have a station where like Robert could go work on something else that could be counted for like extra credit. So like maybe there's like an area where like Robert goes through, and then like maybe if there's like I wouldn't say like an online program, because I know he struggles with using some technology, but something very, very simple where he can go through like 10 or 20 flashcards or vocabulary or anything, and then he can come back to his desk and just start working on whatever he was going on before. And then that would be like, he's not wasting time. He is reviewing work and it's worth something, and then he will feel better when he gets back.
I think that's a great idea.
And what's great is that he can go to those extra stations with his peer buddy. So if he's going through flashcards or something like that and he wants to check his flashcard work, then he can easily go over there with his buddy and get that, see how much that he's learned from the last time that he's been assessed on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he can practice his social skills as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely should give Robert access to visual prompts of some sort, like around the room. So for instance, like maybe you would have at the front of your classroom like a voice level indicator where you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, with the different levels of how loud you can be, and or like it'll say like it's okay to talk and it's not okay to talk, and you can turn on the lights to let your students just know whether or not it's a good time for them to be communicating with each other. I feel like that would be something helpful for Robert because he struggles paying attention, and he struggles to, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, he interrupts a lot. So it could be beneficial for him to just have something up there at the front that says, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to, talk to my neighbor right now.
Honestly, that is a great strategy for all students, because a lot of kids are not just born knowing social skills. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add that over here as well. What other accommodations do you all think that Robert needs, if any? Oh, the IEP stated that Robert reads at a 4th grade level. So I feel like it's especially important to make sure that we have adapted texts available to him, because I'm sure that there are many articles that Robert's peers may be able to read and comprehend, but that he would struggle to read and comprehend.
Yeah, and that's when I want to incorporate maybe like historical drawings or photographs into his documents so that he can see something and connect it to the information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it doesn't get into Robert's home life or anything, but I would love to have some like printed out text like that are adapted that he could like take home with him, and if he lost them or spilled something on him, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But just give him another one.
Yeah.
We don't know if he has reading at home, and maybe that's some of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I think would be beneficial going along with reading is access to audiobooks. I feel like, that's not how you spell audio. I feel like him being able to look at a book and follow along as he's also hearing it would really benefit his reading comprehension skills.
Yeah, because you're accessing a whole nother side of the learning, and so being able to double down on visually reading it and also hearing it too, that would definitely help raise his reading level if he did, if we implement that on a regular basis for him to do, even if it's just something as small as 20 minutes a night.
Yeah.
There is the free public library app. It's called Hoopla. It literally is the library, like on your phone, and they have like tens of thousands of audiobooks on there that are 100% free. There's no money involved. I think it's like one of my favorite apps. Like literally, you get brand new books, and they're just on there.
That's awesome.
Okay, do we have anything else that we want to add for strategies and resources for Robert to have?
This might be more instruction, but I'm thinking he says that he benefits from pre-writing strategies, and then he does them often by himself without being prompted. So I think if we reinforce those, he can get really good at writing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So pre-writing and maybe even access to like pre-writing prompts.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I think that we should be sure to add that we don't currently have in here yet is student-led lessons and discussions. I feel like Robert would really benefit from getting to actually like use or experience what he's learning instead of just like hearing it or reading about it. So I'm going to add that in here.
And that would help with his social skills too, and just being able to help communicate ideas clearly, and that would help with, once again, helping to retain his information and being able to draw back on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I think that this provides a wide range of strategies and resources for Robert to use, and we can definitely meet again if we need to see if anything needs to be changed or if anything happens with him, but I don't think there's anything else that we have to add. Is there anything that we missed, or is that
I think we did a good job of like interweaving ideas and stuff, because I feel like sometimes classes can feel so like solitary, and it's like if you can like use building blocks, like one teacher's thinking about the other person down the hall, and it's like Robert is getting help from both of them, and it's just like it's like one skill builds off the other, and like I think we did a good job at this first run through of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we've come up with a really strong list of instructional strategies and classroom accommodations that we can make and apply in all of our classrooms across the board.
Definitely. All right. Any other final remarks or any positive comments from this meeting?
What was the objective that we were going to go with?
Yeah, I think we have to write one.
Do we need to write one? I don't think we do. I think we just pick one.
Oh, we just pick one?
Yeah.
Yeah, choose one of the 4 short-term goals discussed in your case conference meeting.
Yeah, so we just choose one. And then we develop this one goal specifically for a general education classroom setting. I mean, okay, I feel like that's already kind of done.
Yeah, I think we did good. I think we mostly hit on reading and being able to build that more knowledge on it. So I would say if we would have to choose one, I would probably say reading, but reading also helps build knowledge in all the other subjects. So, but I think that we did good in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really liked. I liked actually all of them. I wish it could just be like one huge objective. I know that'd be way too much.
Yeah.
But I really liked Aiden's a lot. I like the conciseness of it. I like, the how it's measured out.
Yeah, I feel like our objectives all match specifically in one area. They all kind of focus on his memory recall and ability to retain information. So even though I love your guys's objectives just as much as mine, I would probably pick mine just because it kind of encompasses all of ours.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
That sounds great.
That sounds great, yeah.
This was a good meeting, and we can meet in a few weeks to reconvene.
All right, sounds
So
good.
do we have to write the objective?
I can.
Or are we just picking one?
We just pick it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You're good. Don't worry. I highlighted it ever so slightly.
All right.
You could just put like above it like chosen objective or
And you
something.
can put like a star next to it or something like that, like an asterisk. All right. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this meeting, and I'll crop it out of it later. So let me stop the recording.